Out on the campaign trail for an election Parliament looks unlikely to give him. Out of Westminster, though, is where a leader can be hit with the trickiest of questions.
You run the wall.
I do. No, I don't.
Back in Parliament.
I can't make the scissors work.
There he called again on Jeremy Corbyn to back a general election.
We will give some extra time to get this thing done if and only if the Labour Party will agree to an election on December the 12th. Time for Corbyn. Man up. Let's have an election on December the 12th.
Fine, says Jeremy Corbyn. Just one condition.
Providing the Prime Minister comes to Parliament on Monday and makes it absolutely clear he is going to make sure that there is no crash out, because his deal includes the possibility of a no-deal exit.
Well, he's not going to do that, though, is he?
Well, he's going to have to do that.
So if you want a general election, just take no deal off the table, says Jeremy Corbyn. Downing Street says that's only happening one of two ways. Either that place votes through the withdrawal agreement bill and then a deal is negotiated during the transition period, which Downing Street would be quite happy about, or number two, Article 50 is revoked, which they simply will not do. So how do we move forward from here? Well, as of this evening, we don't.
This is already the first opposition in British history that has not wanted a general election. But if they don't back that call for a general election, then we will keep bringing a motion to Parliament for a general election. We'll keep going for it because we need that election. We need to get Brexit done.
So Groundhog Day comes to Parliament, says the Chancellor, a Chancellor who today cancelled his November budget. But while Labour won't back breaking the endless cycle of election votes, the Lib Dems might.
No decisions have been made until we know that we can be absolutely legally assured that election day will not fall after we've left the European Union, and be assured that we have got an extension to the Article 50 process until the end of January. If those two criteria are met, then we're happy to consider whatever proposals the Prime Minister has.
So what of that Brexit extension? Just how long will it be?
No comment, no comment.
EU ambassadors have agreed to delay Brexit, but not the date they would extend to. That might not come until after the Prime Minister's general election vote on Monday. Today, Boris Johnson said it could still be possible to deliver Brexit by October 31st. In Brussels, as in Britain, the chances of that look to have all but disappeared.
Well, MPs may not be relishing the prospect of an election, but how do areas which voted heavily for Brexit feel about Mr Johnson's plan? Our political correspondent Liz Bates has been to Barnsley Central. Its MP Dan Jarvis was one of the few Labour members who voted for Boris Johnson's deal.
Here at the indoor market in Barnsley, the signs that Christmas is coming are already on display. Boris Johnson unveiled his own festive surprise yesterday when he called on MPs to back a general election on December 12th.
What do you guys think about having a general election before Christmas?
I think we just should do it.
Yeah, I thought that when Boris Johnson was coming in and he was campaigning for a new leader of the Conservatives, I thought it should have gone straight back to the people for them to choose who should be their Prime Minister and try and get the majority vote. And then you might be able to push things through Parliament then with the majority vote, rather than to-in and throw-in all the time.
Do you fancy a general election or no? Before Christmas, maybe?
Not before Christmas, maybe after. I don't think people will want to vote before Christmas. Maybe after, they might get more voters.
Yes, definitely.
Right.
Today, if possible.
And what do you think of Boris Johnson?
Boris Johnson, is for the first time in my life, a Conservative said the same things as I've been saying.
Barnsley voted 68% to leave the European Union. So is it Brexit that they really want for Christmas?
If you had to choose between general election or getting Brexit done, which one would it be?
Brexit done, yeah. Definitely.
And what's more important to you, getting Brexit done or having a general election?
Getting Brexit done.
Instead of going around houses, just get straight to the point, off your pop.
Support for Brexit here is long established, but what is new in this safe Labour seat is support for Boris Johnson and his plan to get it done. The Labour MP here, Dan Jarvis, says he understands voters' frustrations.
Do you think that people looking in from the outside at Westminster at the moment will be thinking, first of all, what a mess, and second of all, please, God, just get on with it?
Yes, people are dismayed. I know that because they come up to me in the street and stop me and tell me that they're dismayed. They think that the political establishment has let them down. They can't understand why we haven't been able to resolve this matter one way or the other. And they are looking for us to show leadership, to work across the House of Commons to somehow find a way through this difficult situation. That's what we've got to do.
This week he voted for Boris Johnson's Brexit bill when it came to the Commons for its second reading. But Mr Jarvis and almost all of his Labour colleagues refused to support the government's timetable, saying it was too short.
It seemed to me that that was a hugely missed opportunity, having secured a majority to debate the bill, to then not be able to agree about the amount of time that we were going to dedicate to debating it. So I think that is still achievable, but it does require compromise on both sides, and that's what I want to see.
There is no doubt that Christmas is on its way. The future of British politics, however, looks as unclear as ever.
Well, earlier I spoke to the Brexit Party chairman, Richard Tice, and I began by asking him what his party's position is now on fighting a general election and the government's deal.
We want a general election as soon as possible. We think it's ridiculous that it's dragging on and on. The country wants a general election. And with regard to, Boris's proposed treaty with the EU, look, we think it's deeply flawed. It's full of pitfalls. We've always said the best deal for the UK is to leave on a clean break, and then we've got the negotiating leverage actually to have a straightforward free trade agreement with the EU.
And so that's the point. So you think they've got this wrong and you're going to oppose the Conservatives rather than form a Brexit alliance?
We think they've got it wrong. We think that actually very rapidly, Boris tried to rush it through last week. He hasn't got away with that. But actually already lots of ERG members are realising the flaws in this agreement. What we're saying...
Are they coming to you privately and saying...
Privately, they're admitting...
Even though they voted for it, they're opposed to it?
Look, they've done that for party reasons. Everybody understands that. Privately, we know they think it's an absolute stinker.
How many do you think are actually opposed to it?
Well, that's a good question. What I do know is that actually they're realising it's full of flaws, and actually it's not going to go through, so that when there's a general election, Boris can quite legitimately say, look, the right thing now, in order to get Brexit done, is actually scrap the withdrawal agreement, start again, and actually a clean break is the right way. And we support him in that. We're here to help him with a big Leave alliance, and if that's the way forward, it'll deliver a thumping majority.
I see. So you're hoping he will ditch his own deal and say, well, look, clean break. If he fights...
He can't get it through Parliament.
Right. Well, we don't know that yet, because, it did go through second reading.
We know what the opposition are going to do. They're going to put all
he had a 30 majority
on
second reading, didn't he? So it's possible it could go through.
Yeah, but some of them actually voted it just to say they'd voted on it for their constituents, knowing that it wouldn't go through.
So they were
lying.
On. I mean, they've told you privately that they were...
Parliamentary games.
Deceiving people.
Everybody knows they play it.
You will have seen the polls, though, that show that huge numbers, a majority, it seems, of your supporters believe in the deal. They want the deal to go ahead.
Look, what they actually believe in is that they are exhausted. There is Brexit fatigue out there. What we're saying to them actually is look at this and look at it closely, and actually this would be a really bad deal to sign up to, and we would be trapped. And we're saying, look, there's a much better opportunity. Have the patience, have an extension, and then actually we can leave on a clean break.
But you see what's coming, don't you? If Boris Johnson goes into the next election fighting for his deal and you oppose him, you will let Jeremy Corbyn into power.
If he can't get it through, we don't think he'll go into this election saying, I've got the right deal. I think he'll, we would hope and we would urge him go into this election saying, actually, we need a different approach. He's trying to sell a deal to get it done. But the truth is, as more and more people scrutinise it, he'll get more pressure from his own MPs, and we think that actually, depending on when the election is, who knows, it's a 50-50...
So you're still hoping for a Brexit alliance?
We believe that is the right way forward, in the same way that what you're seeing on the Remain side is a Remain alliance.
He has ruled this out, though.
No, he hasn't.
Boris Johnson was asked...
Let's be very clear. Actually, the Conservatives have already copied a number of our policies. They've already announced a review into HS2.
Or a deal. Boris Johnson was asked very clearly,
and of course
could you do a deal with the Brexit Party? He said, absolutely not. The Conservative Party doesn't do deals.
If you're ever going to negotiate something, you don't open up by saying, yes, I'm definitely going to do it.
So he was lying about that as well, you think?
It's a negotiating tactic. Give him a break. People want Boris to succeed at the moment. And, they're furious that this Parliament is essentially is preventing him from, frankly, getting anything done, whether it's Brexit or anything else.
You're not prepared to sell out the DUP in the way he has, are you?
Of course not.
Because you're close to them.
We think that's one of the fundamental flaws of this current deal, is that basically Northern Ireland has been annexed. and it's been sold down the river, and that's got to change.
So what is the solution to a free trade deal in which you don't have customs checks on the island of Ireland?
Very simple. What the EU's own expert, Lars Carlson, in his excellent Smart Borders 2 report in November 17, when he said using existing technologies, existing international best practice, you can have friction-free across the Irish border.
But they have just rejected that.
No,
that's why we are where we are.
No, let's be very clear. We are where we are because our own useless civil servants failed to negotiate that. They failed to, use that
Civil
report.
Yes, it's very offensive for people who are public servants.
Well, frankly, tough.
Who work very hard for their country.
Tough. They did a bad job on this. We've got evidence of this. We know what's happened. They didn't even ask for it. It's about time we got in some much higher quality negotiators who tell it as it is. All you need is a little bit of what actually Enda Kenny said when he was Taoiseach, which is goodwill and existing technologies. Unfortunately, since then, actually the EU have just negotiated better than their own negotiators, and that's got to change.
Richard Tice, thank you very much.
My pleasure.